And I'm also on the phone with Valerie Van Blair. She is an associate of mine. We've worked on the lobbyist application as a project, and we're kind of the subject matter experts of the application. So hopefully we can get all of your questions answered today. As I mentioned, you're all muted by default. So if you have a question, feel free to type it in the chat window, just so we're not talking over each other. It seems like sometimes if somebody starts talking, there's a delay on my end and I talk over you. It's just much easier to type the question and then I can address it in class. So if you do have any questions, let me know. And with that, we'll go ahead and get started. So the first thing to point out is where you can get all of the lobbyist information on our website. Will there be a recording of today's training? Good question. I am videoing all of the lobbyist trainings, and I'll pick the best one when we're done, and I'll upload it to the system because there is some editing required that I have to do before I can post it. But yes, I will post it as soon as it is ready. And I'll point out on the website where you can find that video as well. So I'm going to be showing you on our test website today, so don't pay attention to the data on here. This is just a dummied up website so I can show you some of the functionality without actually declaring on bills, which we don't want to do. So our website is legis.iowa.gov, and where you can find all of the information pertaining to lobbyists is this Lobbyist Information tab here. And as you'll notice, most of the tabs on our website, we have this main tab here, and then we have some sub-tabs over here along the left. At the top of each one of the pages on the Lobbyist tab is the contact information for the Senate and House lobbyist clerks. So we have phone numbers and email addresses listed for both Kathy Stashen, the Senate lobbyist clerk, and Michelle Hops, the House lobbyist clerk, as well as contact information for Charlie Smithson, the Secretary of the Senate, and Megan Nelson, the Chief Clerk's Office. So if you ever have need to get in touch with any of these people, we post them right here at the top of each one of these pages for you. A couple of reasons you contact the lobbyist clerk: if you have questions directly relating to lobbying process, if you have questions about filing a function report or a client report, basically anything relating to the lobbyist process, and then as well as some of the changes I'll show you in here, those are questions for the lobbyist clerk. If you have questions relating to the online system or the website, that's when you're going to want to give our help desk a call. And if you on the website, in this black section at the very bottom here, I'm highlighting it, this will give you the help desk phone number. So this is always a place you can call if you have technical questions, a problem with the application, a problem with the website. This is where you can address those questions. There's also a webmaster email address here. This is where you can address comments, as well as feedback or questions. A lot of the functionality in our lobbyist application has come from feedback we've gotten from lobbyists. Hey, it would be great if the system could do this, or could we add this functionality? We don't make a lot of changes during session for obvious reasons. However, during the interim, we do go back and we revisit all these suggestions, we present them to leadership. And like I said, a lot of the functionality from the lobbyist application has come directly from feedback that we've received from you guys. So we do value that feedback. We do take it into account. Don't feel like it's just going into a void. We do actually go through all those suggestions and see what we can do to make changes to the application for you guys. So we have the lobbyist clerk contact information up here. And then on the lobbyist reports, this is basically for the public where they can come in and search lobbyist declarations. I had a question last class that was asking if there was a report that showed all registered lobbyists and clients for the upcoming session, and the answer is yes. If you go to our view list sorted by lobbyist or client, doesn't matter which you choose, it'll give you a list of all of the registered lobbyists or clients for the upcoming session. Now we're starting a new GA this year. So on December 1, we're going to open up the system for registration for the 2021 session. Right now, everything posted is for the 2020 session. So what you'll do, this will grow dynamically in real time. So as more and more lobbyists register, as more and more clients become approved, this list will grow. And you'll be able to see it grow as it happens. But there is a download Excel option right here. And if you click on this while viewing either the full lobbyist list or the full client list, again, once December 1 hits and we start rolling the data over, here is a nice Excel sheet that contains all of the lobbyists here. And if you scroll over, here is the clients that each one of the lobbyists represents. So just wanted to point that out. One of the lobbyists had a question, so I thought I would mention it to you guys as well. So that information is available on the public-facing website. And again, that was on the lobbyist reports page, and clicking on this lobbyist link or the client link and then downloading that information into Excel will give you that data. Here's all of the client reports that have been filed by lobbyists, function reports, and then just lobbyist authorizations required by the House. So all of these reports that we get here are actually fed from the lobbyist application. So when you guys are going in, creating those client reports, registering, creating function reports, this is where all of that data pulls from. So people can, for the most part, see it on the public-facing website. Lobbyist legal information, this is just all of the code and code of ethics relating to lobbying in the state. Nothing too crazy there. If you feel like reading up on that, you're welcome to do so. But where you're going to spend most of your time is this Lobbyist Online Filing tab. And this is where you can enter the system. So if I click on this Lobbyist System link right here, this will give me a sign on to the lobbyist application. There's also instructions for various functionality within the lobbyist application. So the first one, if I click on this, we'll pull up written instructions for using the lobbyist application. The answer is yes, it has been updated for the current GA, General Assembly, and it's also had the added functionality that I'm going to point out in training in it. If I do make additional changes, I will always upload the most recent copy here. So this link will always be the most current copy of the documentation for you. Couple things to point out: help desk phone number and email address is right up here in the upper left, or sorry, upper right. And then also with the electronic version, there are links throughout. So for example, if I wanted to quickly go to the make declaration section, if I click on the page number in the table of contents, it'll take me right to that section of the document. So another reason to maybe use the electronic version, but if you prefer a printed copy, that's absolutely fine too. If you click on it and hit print, it'll give you a nice printer-friendly copy of those instructions as well. There's instructions here for filing a pre-function and function report. We just noticed that people are usually doing pre-function reports at a different time than maybe the registration, so I broke that up into separate documentation. And I did the same thing for filing client reports. So these are instructions just for these two functionality pieces within the system. We also have a lobbyist frequently asked questions and glossary. This again has been updated. So just a lot of questions that we get at the lobbyist clerk desk as well as at the help desk, and some answers for you. Again, that magic date this year is December 1, 2020. After December 1, 2020, you can go in and start registering for the upcoming 2021 session. Of course, you can use the system until then, but you won't be able to declare on bills for the upcoming session until we open it up for registration on December 1. If you continue to scroll down here, you'll get to the lobbyist glossary as well. So some of the terms that I'm going to introduce in the application are here, as well as definitions. So if you're unsure of, say, what a client contact is, you can get those definitions here on this page. And again, if I make changes or I update this, I'll always republish it here. So this will always be the most current information. That just pulls up in a new tab. So I'm just going to close out of those tabs here so I can get back. And then here's the lobbyist training video. So right now, this shows last year's training. As I said, once I complete all the lobbyist trainings, I'll take the best recording and I will edit it and I will post it here. So once it's posted, I would think it would be easily by end of next week, it'll be here, if not sooner, but I don't want to promise anything I can't deliver. So click right there, it will launch the lobbyist training video. And then there's also this little thing right here that says all of these instructions are also available from within the portal. So you don't need to use the public-facing website. This is just another place you can find the same information. So how do we sign into the lobbyist system? A couple different ways. The first is to go to the lobbyist information tab, click on lobbyist online filing, and then click on the lobbyist system link here. That makes the most sense to people. But if you've used the portal for other applications like fiscal notes, required reports, again, it depends on your roles. But you can click on this applications link down here at the bottom and sign in here as well. They both take you to the same sign-in page. They're both going to get you to the same place. It's just that we put it both places. We found some people looked for it one place and some people looked for it another, so you can access it either way. Now I'm going to go ahead and sign in with a test account here because I don't actually want to start registering on bills. But you'll sign in with your username, which is the email address that you've signed up with, as well as the password that you've set for yourself. You'll be able to tell that you're signed in because you'll see your name up here in the black. And also you're going to be put into our portal, and you can see all of these links over here along the left. Now, again, depending on your goals in the system, this may look slightly different for you, but what you will all see is this lobbyist system link. Clicking on that will then launch the lobbyist application. Again, if you click the PDF icon in front of the lobbyist system, this is another way to launch and get the written instructions. So again, same information, just another place to find it without having to go back out to the website. It's right here in the portal for you. And then the first time you come in on December 1, it's going to take you to the edit account page. Now it'll say probably registration or re-registration at the top, depending on if this is your first year or not, but it's the same information. So again, the magic date is December 1. After December 1, you can come in and start registering for the upcoming session. It'll give you a little bit of a snapshot here. It'll tell you that you're currently registered for whatever session. Right now, we're still in 2020, so that's what it says. And it'll also give you a date and time stamp for when you registered for the upcoming session. The only thing that you can't change on this page is the user type, and that is by design. We have 3 different roles in the system. The first is lobbyist, obviously. The second is a support staff person. Some lobbyists work with a secretary that goes in and enters their declarations and files their reports for them. And then there's also a client contact, and that's a person who is just someone that can be contacted with questions about a registered client. So if for whatever reason you need this user type changed, that would be an opportunity to call the lobbyist clerk and they can help you change your role in the system. If you are new to lobbying this year, you won't have an account by default. So again, what you want to do is call the lobbyist clerk. They can create an account for you. You can sign in, create your own password, and go from there. But if you haven't registered as a lobbyist before, you'll want to do that before you sign in and create an account. If you have lobbied before, all of this information will carry over from last year. So all of your clients will still be here, all of your personal information. The opportunity at registration time is to change all of this, make sure it's the most current at the time of registration. That will be the information that is shared online going forward. So all of the required fields are denoted with a little red asterisk here. And also, if you were to save or navigate away from this page without filling in one of these required fields, the system will pop up a message and ask you to fill in the required fields. So all of these fields are required in order to register for the upcoming GA. First name, last name, very straightforward. This is how your name will appear on the public-facing website. So if you prefer to be Johnny instead of John, you can change that here at any time. Middle name is optional. If you want to add a middle name, you can. Again, it's not required. But again, just be aware that this is how your name will appear on the public-facing website. So however you want that to look, do whatever you like here, and you can make a change to it at any time by coming back to this page and saving your changes. And then it's just sequential. We have step 1, step 2, step 3. Now we collapse step 1 by default. We know a lot of people are working on tablets or phones. So this is just our way of kind of making sure you don't have to scroll for 5 minutes before you get to the bottom of the page. So you click that show hide, and then it goes ahead and opens up that section and allows you to enter in some additional information here. The first thing you're going to see is Lobbyist Firm. This is completely optional. It doesn't display anywhere on the public website. What it does do is it kind of associates groups of lobbyists together. So later on, when I go in and I show you associations, when you're giving other lobbyists permissions to declare on your behalf, if you all post under the same lobbyist firm, you'll be able to see that when you go to choose your associates. So it's really just for your benefit. It doesn't go anywhere. It's not required. If you want to use this field, great. Again, it's not required. It doesn't display anywhere. It's just for your use. The next field is the most important field in the whole application, and that is your email address. Make sure that this is always 100% current. This is not only your sign into the system, so be aware that if you make changes to the email, that you need to change your login ID. That is your new username whenever you change this to when you hit the save button. Also, this is how we contact you. As you know, you guys got an email about training. This is where we send out emails for when client reports are due. This is how the lobbyist clerk can contact you if there are any questions relating to your account or relating to any clients. So make sure that this is always up to date. Again, you can come in here and change this at any point. I know everybody's a little bit gun shy about entering that because we don't want to, and I understand this, send or give everyone in the public your email address. I get it. So by default, it does not go anywhere. It's only shared with internal staff and legislators, unless you check this box. By checking this box, I say share email info with public. At that point, it will be on the public-facing website. But unless you check that box, and again, it's unchecked by default, it will not show anywhere except for internal staff and legislators, and that's by design. There's a space here to enter an alternate email address. Again, this is optional. If you want to enter a secondary one, you can. It is not required. And then your address. You'll enter in your street address, city, state, zip, and phone. These will display on the public-facing website. So again, those are required fields. There's an alternate phone number here. Again, if you want to add a secondary one, you can. You don't have to. And then lastly, there's an option to put in a cell phone. Again, I know people are loath to put in cell phone. We don't want to share that with everyone. Again, we get it. So again, just like with the email address, unless you check this box, you're not sharing that cell phone information with the public. Again, it's unchecked by default. If you enter in your cell phone, you don't check that box. The only people that are going to see it are internal legislative staff and legislators. So don't feel like you have to worry about people seeing this unless you check that box. And then lastly, there is a section to upload a photo. I just uploaded a generic photo here for my account of the Capitol. If you don't have a photo associated with your account, it's going to look like just a generic kind of guess who silhouette, and you won't have a photo associated with your account. I have been asked by the chief clerk to very much recommend that you post a photo. It really helps legislators facilitate introductions. They like to see them, again, just like with your cell phone, just like with your email, unless, actually, no, this one doesn't even give you that option. No one is going to see that photo except for limited internal staff and legislators. So if the reason that you're not posting it is because you don't want to give it to the public, we get that. Upload a photo. It's not going anywhere near the public. It's only going to be for people with an internal legislative account. So, couple guidelines for uploading a photo from leadership. No logos in the photo. Photo shall contain only one person, and then photo shall contain nothing inappropriate. We haven't really had issues with any of that, but those are just the guidelines that they wanted us to post for photos. So when you have a photo that you'd like to use, you simply hit that choose file button. You'll choose the photo here, hit open, and that will upload the photo. Now the photo is not going to post to your account immediately after that. What happens is it goes into a queue for the lobbyist clerk to approve. So again, that's just going through. They make sure that the photo meets all the guidelines. We resize the photo. We put the same resolution on them so they're standard. We're not going to be editing your photo in any significant way other than sizing it for the website. So you will get an email when your photo is approved and or rejected. They generally aren't rejected unless you don't meet those guidelines. There is text right here that says if your photo contains any of the above, it will be rejected and you will be asked to submit a new photo that meets the guidelines. And then again, photos shared only with legislators and internal staff and are appreciated by legislators to facilitate introductions. We just actually ran our report for the chief clerk and it was like 700 registered lobbyists, and of those only about a little over 200 had photos. So she wanted me to again stress in training that they would love to see photos. I'm done harping on you now. So there's that. This will go into a queue for the lobbyist clerk. As I said, once they approve their photo, the photo will be added to your account. If for some reason they were to reject your photo, you'll get an email notification of that with the reason for rejection, again, asking you to upload a new photo that meets the guidelines. And then the last section here just says which branches you're going to lobby. By default, the legislative branch and the executive branches are checked. If you need to also lobby the governor's office, you would check the box next to governor's office. If you need to make changes and you're not registering one of them, check or uncheck to your heart's content. Most people stick with the default selection of legislative and executive branches here. So that's your personal information. I'm going to go up here and just collapse this section again so you can kind of see on the screen a little bit more of the information. The second step in this process is to associate your clients to your account. Again, if you've lobbied previously, all of the clients from last year will carry over here. If you need to make changes at the time of registration, this is where we ask you to do that. So if you need to add or remove any clients from last year, what you'll do is click on this little pencil icon that says click to select clients. Over here along the left, it's going to give you a list of all of the registered clients in the lobbyist application currently. What you'll do is you will select the client or clients over here on the left. If you hold down your control key, you can click multiple clients at once. Use the right facing arrow to add those clients to your account. Likewise, you reverse the process. If you want to remove them, I would click on the client over here in the selected client list, use the left facing arrow to remove that client. And then up here is a little filter. This is where you can pull out certain clients. Maybe I know that my client's 3M. I can type that in and it'll just pull out the clients that meet that search criteria. One word I recommend you don't use is Iowa. They almost all have Iowa in there somewhere, so that's not going to limit your search results too much. Try to pick a word that's specific to your client, and then it'll pull that out and allow you to select it very quickly. There is no save here. I know that scares a lot of people, but yes, you do close this when you are finished. And you'll see that the changes are updated automatically in my account. Now, all of the ones that are linked here are ones that are active in my account. If you add or remove a client after you register for the upcoming session, what we do is we put this little parentheses next to it that says the date that you added or removed the client. So this would be after if you go in and register on December 1 and you add a client on December 2, we're going to note that. If you remove a client on December 2, we're going to note that. And this is what displays on the public facing website. So again, if you represent a client halfway through and then you remove them, we're going to note that on the website for you. And then the other thing that you can do, if the client that you're looking for, the client that you represent, is not available in the list, what you can do is click on this plus sign to add a new client. What's going to happen is you're going to put in, again, all of the required information, which is noted with these little red asterisks here. Put in the client name, address, city, state, and zip. Phone number is optional. If you want to put that in, great. And then there's the option here to check this personal interest box. Now, do you have to be a registered lobbyist to talk to a legislator? Of course not. But some people want to register as personal interest lobbyists and they want to record their declarations and they want those to show on the public facing website. If that's the case, then you'd want to be a personal interest lobbyist and you're representing yourself in that case. What we've done for personal interest lobbyists now is that a client report will automatically be filed for any personal interest lobbyists on July 1 with $0. We implemented this because a lot of times people would call in and they'd say, hey, I'm not going to file a client report because nobody paid me anything. It was just for my benefit. Yes, but unfortunately, according to code, you still have to fill in a client report if you represent a client during the fiscal year. So we go ahead and do that for you. We put in $0. If you want to change that, you can go in and change the report, but we'll go ahead and meet that requirement for you without any action on your part if you check that box. If it's not a personal interest, you'd of course leave that box unchecked. And then they just ask for some client contact information: email, first name, last name, and phone number. Do you require 2 contacts for the client, unless you elect to put in a secondary email or a secondary phone number for the first client. That would meet the criteria. You don't need to enter a second client contact. Basically, what this is for is if the lobbyist clerk wants to contact someone with questions about a particular client or the new client, this is the person they can get in touch with. They want to have 2 different phone numbers and 2 different emails. So in case one doesn't work or they can't get a hold of somebody, they have another person to contact. So that's why that requirement is there. Again, if you fill in a secondary phone or email, the requirement for the second contact goes away, and you'll see that those asterisks disappear. I don't actually want to create this client, so I'm going to go ahead and close out here. If I hit save, what happens is, again, just like with the picture, it'll go into a queue for the lobbyist clerk, and they'll have to go in and approve that client. And really, the only reason that they would reject a client is if it's redundant. So, for example, somebody writes in and they say, I don't see Iowa Soybean Association in the list. And they put in a request for a new client contact. And the lobbyist clerk rejects it and says, actually, it's under Soybean Association of Iowa. So again, it's really only if you do a redundancy with a client that's already named maybe something else, that's really the only reason you get rejected. Otherwise, they go ahead and approve it, and then that client is automatically added to your account after approval. You'll also get an email notification when that client is approved or rejected by the lobbyist clerk. And then lastly, you have the option to edit your client information at any time. And we did this because a lot of times, client reporting time, we'd send out an email, client report is due, and we get a bunch of phone calls saying, well, I can't file my client report because the address is incorrect, or the client contact is incorrect, or the phone number is incorrect. So what we do is we allow you to change the client contact information now at any time. To change the client contact information, what you'll do is click on the linked client name here. The only thing you can't change is the name. And again, that's by design. So there's a little text here that says, if you believe the client name needs to be changed, you must contact the lobbyist clerk. They can update that name in the system. And then you can change the address, city, state, zip, whatever you like, uncheck or check that personal interest box. And then there's a place where you can change your client contact information. Now, right now, these are grayed out because it's going to ask me what I want to do. There's 2 options. The first is if I want to update the current client contact's information. So let's say David Boynton is still the contact, but maybe his phone number has changed. I would choose this first box here. You see how all of these then become selectable, and I can come in here and I can update the phone number. If this client contact is going away, maybe this person no longer works there and you're going to put in a new client contact, that's when you would choose the second option. And you see in that case, all of the information clears out and allows me to enter in a new client contact and all of their information. So Same thing with both contacts. Again, check the box that you want and then enter the information that is requested. There's also a note section. This is required. And basically what we're asking for here is just a summary of the changes. So I changed David Poynton's phone number on November 18th, 2020. That satisfies the requirement. It's basically just for the lobbyist clerk to let them know what changed. And then you'll say save, and those changes are made in the system for you. So that is how you can update your clients. And then the last section is support staff. This is the person who is not a lobbyist, who is someone that can file on your behalf. So we have a couple of different lobbyist firms that have one person that goes in and enters all of the declarations for all of the lobbyists of the firm. That would be an example of a support staff person. So what you would do is enter in the email address, first name, last name. There's a checkbox here to say if the support staff person has the same street address and phone number as the lobbyist, check that box. And again, it's just our way of not making you enter in more information. If you both work at the same office, check that box. We'll put you in the same address. And then you can do this as many times as needed. As you can see here, I have 2 different support staff people. When I hit save, they will be added here, and then I can just come in and repeat the process again and again, however many times I need to. To remove a support staff person, you simply hit this little red X here, and it removes that person. Almost everything in our system is going to give you a confirmation. We know that sometimes people click on things and didn't mean to, especially with devices. Sometimes it's very easy to hit a button. So almost everything has this "are you sure" message here. And if you are sure, you hit confirm. At that point, the person is removed. And you can see at the top in green when something is successful. Support staff person removed successfully. And I've saved that. We also have a couple other fail safes in place. So if I were to make a change to this page and I go to navigate away from the page, it's going to pop up a message. Changes you made may not be saved because I haven't hit save before I'm moving on. So if you don't care about the change, you can hit leave. But most times what you're going to want to do is come back, hit cancel, hit the save button. When you hit save, you can see this nice, again, success message that says user information updated in the Lobbyist system. You'll also get an email that tells you that those changes have been saved and outlines what those changes to your account page were. So 2 different ways of verifying that that information is entered correctly. And that's your edit account. I'm going to skip down here and talk a little bit about preferences because these tie into all the other parts I'm going to talk about. So by default, we go ahead and give you all of these different email alerts. So without any action on your part, if you haven't visited this page ever, all of these are checked for you except for the last one. You can check or uncheck these at any time depending on your preferences. We just thought it was better to get an email and not need it than need an email and not get it. So if you want to remove any of those, simply uncheck the boxes next to the alerts that you don't want. But by default, you're going to get an email alert when your registration is approved. So as soon as your registration is approved by the lobbyist clerk, you'll get an email notification. At that point, you can sign in and start declaring on bills and filing reports. You'll get an email alert when your new client has been approved or rejected. So just like before, when we were adding a new client that wasn't already a registered client, once the lobbyist clerk takes action on that, you'll get an email notification if it's been approved. If it's been approved, it'll be added to your account. If it's been rejected, it will not be, and you'll be given a reason why. You will get an email alert when account information is changed. So just like I went on my page and I changed my name from John to Johnny, I'd get an email alert about that in addition to the success message I got at the top when I hit save. I'll get an email alert when associated client information has changed. So if somebody else who represents my client goes in and changes the phone number, I'll get an email alert about that. So again, it's just our way of kind of trying to keep everybody that represents a client on the same page and notify them of any changes that have been made to that information. And then likewise, if you notice that something has been changed that maybe shouldn't have been, that's a point where you can contact the lobbyist clerk and we can kind of get that information entered properly. The email alert, you'll get one of those when the associates have changed. So an associate is actually a lobbyist that you've given permission to declare on your behalf. And I'll show you that here next. But when those are changed, added, or removed, you'll get an email notification of that. You'll get an email alert when declarations are made. So you'll get an email with that says your declarations have been submitted successfully, and then you'll also get a list of all the declarations that you made during that session. You get an email alert when you file a client report or edit a client report, and you get an email alert when you file a function report or edit a function report. Both of those are by default. You'll get an email alert when a declared bill is redrafted. This is a big one. As we all know, bill numbers like to change throughout session. So let's say you declared on Senate File 123, it becomes House File 123, and now you're no longer getting those email notifications like you were before because the bill number has changed. What we do is we go in and we send you an email if the bill number changes. We'll say Senate File 123 has become Senate House File 123, and then there will be a link in the email that you can click to declare on the new bill. We don't do it for you by default because sometimes there are slight differences. Maybe for whatever reason you don't want to declare on the new bill. It's just a link to do so. It doesn't automatically assume that you want to do so. So you do have to go in and actually declare on the new bill, but it's an update letting you know that you should do so. Email when a client is associated by another lobbyist. So if another lobbyist comes in and puts in their account that they represent your client, you get an email notification of that. And this is just in an effort to keep things accurate. We had situations before where lobbyists would call in and say, hey, so-and-so associated themselves to my client. I know for a fact they don't represent my client. It's just a little alert to let you know if something is incorrect. And again, you can contact the lobbyist clerk and they can straighten all that out for you. By default, you're automatically going to be subscribed to receive email updates on every single bill you declare on. We'll go ahead and we'll separate those lists by client. So you'll get one list per client of all the bills you've declared on for each client. You'll also get one large master list that contains all of the bills you've declared on regardless of client. So all you have to do without any more action on your part is declare on a bill, and you automatically are signed up to receive email updates on that bill. Lastly, and this is the only one that is unchecked by default, is this send bills and rules watch to all support staff. We had a request that a lobbyist said, it would be really great if I could just share my collection with my support staff person. So by checking this box, this would allow you to do that. Now, this only works if you enter a support staff person on your page. If there's no support staff person there, it's not going to know what to do. But if you enter a support staff person, check that box and they'll be able to access all of the bills in your collection, just like you can. And then lastly, there's this declarations preferences. This just says how many boxes are going to be on the declarations page by default. By default, there'll be one bill box with 5 rows representing 5 clients. You can update this if you want. Maybe you know you're always going to be declaring on like 3 or 4 bills at a time. You can change this. Now, that's not to say that you can't change it on the page as well. You don't have to know how many bills you're going to declare on at the time. You can make changes on that page, but this is just your default setting. So by default, you'll get one bill box with 5 rows. If you want to change that, be my guest. And then the same thing goes for this page, just like the edit account page. If I attempt to navigate away from this page without first saving, I'm going to get this little message saying, you're leaving the site, your changes may not be saved. In that case, again, you want to hit the cancel button. You want to hit the save button. Again, you get that preferences saved successfully message, and then you know you can move on to another tab without losing that information that you just entered. So those are your preferences. Change these at any time. The next section down is the associates information. Now, associates are, again, lobbyists that you've given permission to declare on your behalf. There's 2 different tables. The first is associates that I've added. The associates that I've added are people that can declare for me. That's the only one that you can really control. Associates, likewise, can also come in and give you permissions to declare on their behalf. Now, this isn't a reciprocal relationship by default. Just because I've given Kelly Harrison the right to declare for me, as you can see, she hasn't added me, so I cannot declare for her. The only way that you'll be able to tell if it's a reciprocal relationship is if you see the same name in both tables. So Jane Doe, I've given her rights to declare for me. She's given me rights to declare for her. She's in both tables. You can add or remove associates as needed by just checking or clicking this little red X next to the name to add or remove them, to remove them. To add them, what you'll want to do is click on this plus sign up here, and this will show you all of the registered lobbyists. Now, here's an example of where that lobbyist firm came in. So all of these people have associated themselves to a particular firm, and now I can see all of the lobbyists for each firm here. That's the only place that that displays in the system. And then you can just start typing. Whatever you start typing here, it will sort and, it will filter out all of the lobbyists that match that search criteria, whatever you typed here. So you'll choose the associate or associates you want by holding down the control key, hit that associate button, and now that person has been added to your list of associates. So again, associates that you add can declare for you. Associates who added you, you can declare for them. You can also remove ones that give you access. So for example, somebody writes in and they give you rights to declare on their behalf and you're like, I have no idea who this person is. feel free to go in and delete it. We did have issues with people not being able to remove them and having to call the lobbyist clerk all the time. So we've gone ahead and give you the functionality to be able to do that yourself now. So change these at any time. And then declarations, 2 different sections. After you register, this will become your home page when you click on the Lobbyist System. And this will show you all of your declarations that you've already done. Now we're starting a new GA this year, so this page will be blank when you first come in here. That is by design. As you start making declarations, this page will fill in real time. You'll see all of the most recent declarations at the top of the page and then backward in time chronologically. You'll be able to see the bill number that you declared on. Clicking on the bill number will take you to our bill book application and show you all the information on that particular bill. And again, that just opens in a new tab, so I'll close that down. It'll put in an LSB number. It'll say the declaration that you made, so the position that you took on the bill, the client that you declared on behalf of, the date and time that you made that declaration. And then this declared by field comes in because, as you know, we can give other people permissions to declare for us. So what this does is it shows who exactly made this declaration. So some were made by Johnny Doe, who I'm registered as right now. Some were done by Jane. Some were done by Emily Kramer. So if you go into the system and you're like, I do not remember declaring on Senate File 321, well, that's because you didn't. It looks like your associate Jane Doe did that for you. So you can come in here and edit these, but it just shows who made that declaration for you in the first place. There is an option here to put in comments on a bill. These comments are shared on the public-facing website. They are completely optional, so you don't have to enter any comments at all. But if you want to, you would put in a comment like this. This is not a place where you want to lobby on the bill. This is something like really brief that says, I don't want this bill because it doesn't do anything for my client 3M or whatever. So you put in those comments. You cannot delete a comment once you have added one. All you can do is amend a comment. So maybe I had a comment on this bill and then my position changed on 11/19 or what have you. And if I could type, that would be spelled right. At any rate, so you can save that, and then you have that amended comment. These will both be posted to the website in that instance. So again, comments are completely optional. If you want to add them, great. Just be aware that when you add them, they are visible on the public website, and also that you can't remove them. You can only amend them going forward. And then you have the ability here to withdraw or delete a declaration. Slight difference between the two. Clicking on this, we do try to explain what each one of these means. So based on your choice here in the drop-down, there's explanatory text here stating what this does. When I'm withdrawing a declaration, what that indicates is that I did have a position on the bill. Maybe something happened and my client no longer has a position on the bill. So maybe they were for this bill initially and then an amendment came out and now it has nothing to do with my client. I would withdraw the declaration and I would say something in the comments like, because of amendment such and such, my client no longer maintains a position on this bill. So withdrawal is if your declaration changes. You were for it, now you're withdrawing it because you don't have a position. Whereas, and that's what this text here states. So if you forget what I just said, there's that explanatory text here. There's also a delete option. The delete option is if you make a mistake. You meant to declare on Senate File 123 and you accidentally declare on Senate File 223. That would be an instance where you'd want to delete a declaration. When you delete it, it removes it from the system. It's as if it never happened because we know it was a mistake. Now, you only have 24 hours to delete this from the system. If after 24 hours have gone by, and this is up here in the text again, if 24 hours have passed, the lobbyist needs to contact the lobbyist clerk to have the declaration deleted. And we know that happens. So if that's the case, just contact the lobbyist clerk. They can remove the declaration, but you can't delete it here once the 24 hours have passed. And if that's the case, you'd see a message up here that's saying more than 24 hours have passed, contact the lobbyist clerk. So there's that. Again, comments are optional. If you want to put in why you did that, you can do so. It doesn't go anywhere. So that's up to you. Again, this sorts in chronological order with the most recent on top. All of these column headings mean that you can click on them to sort. So maybe if I want to see all of my declarations by declaration type or position, I can do it that way. If I want to click and see all of the clients in alphabetical order, I can click on that column heading to resort the table. I'm not changing the information. I'm just changing how I'm looking at it. So again, by default, most recent on top, if you want to sort by bill number or LSB number, you can click on those column headings to resort the table by that criteria. Scrolling up on the page here, if I go to this General Assembly or year picker, anytime you see these on our website, that indicates that you can go back in time. So the lobbyist that I'm working with right now, can you export that list of declarations to Excel? Great question. And I believe that you can. I thought you at one point. Valerie, where did we put that? Is that on the public facing website? Do you remember? All right, let me come back to that here in a bit. Good question. We'll talk about that here in a second. I just don't want to lose my momentum here. Right now, like I said, I'm in a test account and I've only been a lobbyist for this 1 year. If you've been a lobbyist for 20 years, you'll see 20 years worth of data here. And you can choose a previous General Assembly and the contents of the page will adjust accordingly. Now, of course, you're not going to be making declarations for bills in the past, but it's more of a read only. If you want to go back and see how you declared on a bill 20 years ago and you were a lobbyist 20 years ago, this is how you can do that. And I'll go ahead and just collapse that by clicking
What was
that
the
arrow.
question, Emily? I was muted.
I figured you were. The question is, oh, you know what? I don't need to answer the question. Can you export this to Excel? The answer is what we do when you make these declarations is, again, we're going to give you that success message and we're sending an email to you with all of the declarations listed for that particular session in the application. So you made 10 declarations, you'll get an email with all of the 10 declarations listed. As far as Excel, I'm not quite sure. Let me see.
No.
I don't believe that we do that. But if that's something that would help you, we can absolutely put that in as a suggestion for an added feature going forward. But no, I don't believe that we do. I was going to check my email, but it's not in Excel. Like I said, we can add that. Valerie will make a note of that and we'll take that to leadership and see if that's something that other people want. It's a good question.
Emily, is that
It would be
actually
handy.
in the lobbyist application?
She said it would be
Where we're
handy.
at?
We can copy and paste it currently, which works okay, but isn't ideal. Yes, I understand that. It's not ideal in Excel. That makes sense. Yeah, we'll put that down as a suggestion. So thank you for your feedback. We haven't gotten that one before, so that's a new one. And then you just have these filters up here at the top. So as you can imagine, as you're going through and declaring on more and more bills, this list becomes very difficult to scroll through and have to, look for certain things. So you can do those sorts to find the declarations you're looking for, or you can do this, these filters up here at the top. Now this one isn't going to work great because I just dummied up the account this morning. So the only declarations I made were on the 18th. But what you can do theoretically is enter in a date range, hit the search button, and it will filter out just the declarations that you made for that particular date range. You can do the same thing with these other options here for searching. You can click on the bill. Maybe I just want to see the declaration I made for a particular bill. I can enter in the bill number, hit search. It filters out just that declaration for me. I can do the same thing for declaration type. Maybe I want to see all of the ones that I've withdrawn. Can choose my declaration position, hit search. It pulls out just those bills. And then lastly, I can do it by client. So if I just want to see all of the declarations that I made for my 3M client, I can hit search and pull those out that way. So again, this is up to you. It's not changing the information. It's just pulling out the search criteria that you put up here. Go back to seeing everything the way it was, hit the cancel button. It goes back to showing you all of your declarations without any filters in place. So that's viewing your declarations. To actually make the declarations, you'll come over here and you'll click on Make Declarations. What will happen on this screen is your name will be checked, as will any people that have given you rights to declare for them. So in this case, I only have one person, Jane Doe, that gave me rights to declare on her behalf. It'll check both of the names by default. If you want to uncheck one or the other, maybe I just want to declare for Jane, I can uncheck the box next to my name and vice versa. Me personally, I always leave both of them selected because there is error checking in the system and it's not going to allow you to declare for a client you don't have. And I'll show you what I mean here in the next step. So you select who you want to declare for, you hit the continue button, and then it's going to say here, declarations are being done for Johnny Doe and Jane Doe. And then you're going to enter in your bill number. And as you can see, it does give you the format to use for bills here, but it's not very picky about the format. As you can see, I didn't uppercase either one of the letters. I didn't put a space in between the letters and the numbers. It still found the bill. So I put in a bill number, I click away from the field, and it's going to put in the short title of the bill. This is another request we got from a lobbyist. Sometimes it's really small on my screen and I can't see if that's the right bill. It'd be great if it put in a short title. So we did that. It'll go ahead and give you the short title of the bill. It'll also give you, if it was formerly another bill, it'll put that in parentheses as well. It's also not going to let you enter an invalid bill number. So if you type in House File 123 and there is no House File 123, it's not going to let you declare for it. It's going to say invalid bill. The other thing it'll do is, again, it will separate out by client. So this list of clients that I'm selecting here are the clients that both John and Jane represent. But when I go through and I choose them, here's one that they both represent. Here's one they both represent. But if I choose like Wine Institute, only Jane has that one. John can't declare for it. He doesn't have that client. And the same goes for Abate. Only Johnny can declare for that. Jane doesn't have that client. So there is that error checking in place. You don't have to worry about, making an invalid declaration. If you have the same position for everyone, you can hit this little radio button at the top and it fills in undecided or whatever position you choose in these boxes here. You can also go over and make changes individually to each one of these. So if you want to change this is for and this against, you can do so here. Now, there's also error checking in place. If I select the same client twice, it's going to say, hey, this client is already selected for this bill. It's not going to let you make two declarations with the same client on the same bill. It'll pop up that little message and let you know. And then you would just go in and choose. If you need to add additional rows here, maybe I have a couple more clients that I want to add, I would hit this little plus sign up here at the top to add additional rows to my table. And then likewise, if I want to remove any, I can remove them by clicking on that red X. Now, you don't need to go through and remove all the rows that are empty. The system is intuitive enough to just take the data that's entered and not worry about the fields that aren't entered. So don't feel like you need to go in and delete all the rows you're not using. You don't have to. But let's say as I'm looking at this, you know what, while I'm here, I want to declare on another bill too. I'll hit this Add More Bills button. It puts in another bill table. Now I can enter another bill number. And I can declare on that as well. And again, when I click away, it shows me the short title of the bill. And again, I can just choose my clients, enter my position. Here's where, again, you can put comments on those bills. Again, remember any comments you entered are going to be on the public facing website. And again, remember that you can't delete comments once you've added them. You can only amend the comments that you've made. And again, remember, this is completely optional. So if you don't want to do any comments, don't enter anything in that field. No biggie. When you are done, I know this is where people get a little gun shy. You're not quite ready to submit these. Like I said, almost everything in here works on a confirmation screen. So when I click on next, it's not going to declare. What it's going to do is it's going to take me to this confirmation screen where it says review your declarations and click submit declaration to complete. So this gives you the opportunity to look and see, okay, is this what I want to do before you actually submit them? If you need to make a change, maybe Abate is actually not undecided anymore. Maybe now they're for it. I would hit the edit button, takes me back to the previous screen. I would go in here, I would choose the position of for, and then I would hit the next button again. You'll see that that has changed now on this page, and I can go ahead and hit the submit declaration button to submit those declarations. So you can edit and go back as many times as you need to until it's right. When it's right, hit submit hit submit declarations. Again, you get this nice little success message at the top here. It does give you a message saying if you want to declare again, the same Lobbyist and Associates, hit the declare again button. That will take you back to the main screen, allow you to enter in another bill and put in more clients. But again, you get not only that success message, you will get an email notification with all the declarations that you've just made as well. So two different ways to verify that those declarations have been made in the system. We used to have a lot of questions at the help desk. I think I've submitted my declarations, but I'm not quite sure. This is in an effort to alleviate that. You get two different confirmations that yes, you submitted those declarations for you. So make declarations as needed. And then you have function reports. As I mentioned, just so the directions for the Lobbyist System weren't crazy long, I went ahead and separated out the function report portion and the client report portion. So if you click on the little PDF in front of those will then pull up the written instructions for just doing the function report or just doing the client report. Again, this will be blank by default because you haven't filed any function reports. Once you start filing function reports, this page will fill in and show all of the ones that you have filed. If you want to see all of the public function reports, you can click that link here to be taken to our website and show you all of the function reports that have been scheduled, not just by you, but other lobbyists. But this page is just going to show you the ones that you have filed. So what you will do to do a pre-function registration is come up here and click on this yellow button that says pre-function registration. And some of this information is going to fill in for you. It'll fill in your name, it'll fill in your address and your phone number. If you need to change this, what you would do is go to your edit account page, make the changes there, save them. When you come back in here, the system will update and put in whatever information you changed. So you'll just fill in the required fields again denoted with this little red asterisk. So date of the event, you can either type it in this format, or you can choose it in the calendar to put in the date here. And then you're going to enter the time of the event. This used to be a slider. We weren't too crazy about that, so now it's a drop down. I like it a lot better. Hopefully you do too. So you put in the start time of the event, the end time of the event. And then sometimes you don't always know maybe the exact time that it's going to start. So maybe instead of 10:30, you know that it's going to happen after a particular committee meeting. So in that case, you can choose this other radio button and type in after Ways and Means. So that's more of an approximate time. So you have the option to do either. Location of the event. This is a free form text box. However, it will go ahead and give you choices with locations that you've previously chosen. But we know events happen all over, so you can absolutely just type in, it's going to be at the Marriott on 3rd Street or what have you. Type in the location, and then you're going to choose your sponsors. This list of available sponsors here is the same as the registered client list. So just like on your edit account page, this is the same drop down here. Again, you can type in a specific word for a client to filter out just those clients. But just like with the edit account page, what you'll do is you will select your sponsors over here on the left, use the right facing arrow to add these as the sponsor of your function over here at the right. There's also the option to do a new sponsor. So maybe we know a lot of times somebody maybe will provide food or something else. They're not a registered client, but they are technically a sponsor for the function. So maybe, I don't know, I'm running out of fast food chains to write in here, but let's pretend it's Hardee's. So Hardee's is supplying the food. You go ahead and type that in, you hit that right facing arrow, and it adds Hardee's here as a sponsor. So you don't have to register this client. You can just have the sponsor for this one function. And then lastly, there's this note section here. And this is mostly used if an event is canceled due to inclement weather. Because of session, we have lovely Iowa winters, so sometimes they don't happen. So if that's the case, this is where you can come in and write event canceled due to inclement weather. And you still do have to file a function report and a pre-function report, unfortunately, due to Iowa code. However, this is a way of saying, okay, I didn't enter any expenditures because the event never happened. And up here at the top, there is language that talks about the function and pre-function report requirements here. And it links to the Iowa code section that discusses both of those. So function and pre-function report is required to be filed 5 days before the date of the event, and a function report must be filed 28 calendar days after the scheduled event. So, and I'll show you on the next page here, we'll kind of give you some tips on when those are. But when you're done, you'll hit submit. It will add the function report to your page here. You can edit these at any time. So if I go in and, oh, you know what, actually, I chose the wrong sponsor. This person shouldn't be a sponsor. I can come in, remove them, make my change, hit submit, and it'll go ahead and overwrite the previous one. It will overwrite the previous pre-function report over and over and over. Once the date passes, it will appear in red, and you'll be able to click on it. Here, let me just dummy up one real fast. Let's just put it in there. This one already happened. So I can show you what I'm talking about. So maybe this event happened a while ago. On this page, I can see here, this one is in red because that is when the pre-function registration should have been done. So function date, this is the date that the function is scheduled for. Function sponsors, you chose those. Location, you entered that. Pre-function registration, this is the date that this would have had to have been filed. So it'll be 5 days before the function date. In this case, it's in red, letting me know that I didn't meet that criteria. It's not really that big a deal. Usually it just puts it in red to let you know, hey, you didn't do this 5 days before the event technically. It'll put in the filing date when you created this function report. It'll do the filing by. So just like with declarations, since you've given other people rights to do things for you in the system, this lets you know which user actually filed this report. So you can, again, amend these anytime using the edit option, or once the date has passed, what you will see is all of the information that you previously entered, but now you also get these expenditure fees here. So now I can say, okay, I spent $500 on food, and I spent $500 on beverage, and whatever else, $25 on incidentals. It'll go ahead and total all of those up for you. So depending on what you enter, the total will adjust accordingly. When you are done, you will hit the submit button. The pre-function report will be overwritten with the function report, and that will be what displays on the website. You'll also see if you make any changes after you file the function report. As you can see, this says amended report. We're only going to post the most recent amended report on the website. This is just for your benefit that you can see both. We keep an internal record of the original as well. So that's your function reports. Client reports function almost the exact same way. Page is structured the same, just some different information to enter. So again, you have your public client reports here. Clicking on that will take you to the website. It shows you all of the client reports that have been filed. Something new a couple years ago is, and as you can see, I've already got one here. We used to open up the system on July 1 and allow you to file client reports just for the month of July. But what we found is a lot of times people would stop representing a client halfway through the session. There'd be confusion about why they needed to file a client report in July. So what happens now is anytime you remove a client from your account, it'll pop up a message and say, do you want to file a client report now? So I'm removing the client today. I want to just get my client report out of the way. I can file it today, put in my expenditures. I'm done. I don't have to worry about it in July. So this system is now technically open at any time. So I can file a client report for this fiscal year at any time now. And of course, none of these are due till July 31st, 2021. But it'll fill in with all the ones that have already been filed. I'm just going to close that down. Again, it will show all of the client reports that you have already filed. To file a new one, what you will do is come up here and hit this File Client Report. You will select the client here from the dropdown. Again, there's error checking in place. So if I choose a client from the dropdown that already has a report filed, you get this nice little message at top saying report is already filed for this client. If you wish to proceed, please do so. Basically, we're not going to disallow you from filing another client report, but this message is kind of like, hey, you've already filed a report for this client. Are you sure you don't want to go back and just amend the report that you've already done as opposed to creating a new report? So up to you. But what you'll do is you'll choose the client here from the dropdown, and it's going to fill in most of the information for you. It's going to fill in the client address and phone number. It's going to fill in the client contact info. It's going to put in when you added the client to your account or remove them. It's going to put in the reporting period that you're reporting with this client report. And underneath here, it's going to say clients shown added between July 1, 2020 and 6/30/2021. So that's what the list of clients here indicates. And then it's going to put your name as the client representative name. So all you have to fill in is the client representative title. If you're the lobbyist, you put in lobbyist. Now, if you have questions about what to fill in here, what kind of information, that's a question for the lobbyist clerk. They know kind of what they want you to type into each field. However, there are little tool tips here. So if you hover over these little question marks next to each one of the column headings, it gives you a little bit of a tool tip about what's expected in that field. So let's pretend I'm filling this out here. I'm going to put in John Doe, and I'm going to say that they paid me $5,000. The reimbursements field is, at all of these actually, are free-form type boxes. So you can type in reimbursements for gas. There's instances where people just want to type as opposed to putting in a dollar amount. So we allow you to do that here. And because that is the case, the total isn't going to work because I have a text here. So you do have to total it up yourself. So maybe this is $5,000 because that's all the money I got. You'll want to do a different row for each lobbyist. Add another row. You're just going to click these little plus signs here to add additional rows. To remove rows, you use the X to remove those. And again, you don't have to worry about removing the ones you don't use. The system will know just not to take that. When you're finished, you'll hit this little checkbox. It says, by checking this box, I affirm the information I submitted is true and accurate. Click the submit button to file the client report. I hit submit. It now files my client report. And again, it just gives me the information here, the client that I filed the report for, the reporting period, date and time I filed the report, who filed it. So again, if a support staff person or an associate did that, you'd see their name here. And then again, you can update these at any time. So if I come in here and actually they got back to me with this total and it was $1,000. So now my total needs to change, 6,000. Again, I would make my change, check the box, hit save. And I'm going to get this nice little message here that says it was last modified at this date and time and last modified by who. And then again, the most recent one will be the one that displays on the public facing website, but we keep an internal record of the original as well. And again, clicking on the PDF icon will pull up instructions just relating to client reports for you. Preferences we already talked about. That's where you can go in and change your email preferences. Terminate account. And again, easy to hit. So we put in another confirmation here. This is if you are a lobbyist and then maybe in April or something, you get a new job. We don't want to delete your account because that information is still accurate. We want to see all of your declarations and everything that you've done so far. What we'll do is we'll mark your account inactive, and that's what the terminate denotes. So it gives you a little message. If you terminate your account, you're no longer going to have access to the lobbyist system for the current legislative session. Are you sure you wish to terminate your account? If you hit confirm, your account is terminated. Now, you can still sign into the system after you've been terminated, and you can still file client reports. Everything else is going to kind of be locked down, but it'll be read-only. So you'll be able to see all the declarations you made. You'll be able to see, your client reports and your function reports. The only thing you'll be able to do after termination is file a client report. And again, we keep it that way on purpose because sometimes you're filing a client report for a client you represented a year ago. That happens quite frequently, actually. So if you mistakenly hit this confirm button and terminate your account, don't panic. Just call the Lobbyist Firm. They can reactivate your account. But again, if you don't want to terminate your account, you just hit that cancel button, and it's as if you never touched it. My registrations. This is just a historical view of your account. Again, my test lobbyist here has only been a lobbyist this 1 year. If you've been a lobbyist for 20 years, you'll see 20 rows in this particular table here, and it'll check, your status, the year, the session, and then which branches you lobbied for that time frame. So just a little historical view there. The FAQ and glossary, just like on the lobbyist info tab on the website, this is the same document, just another place that we post it in case you're looking for it here instead. So there's your FAQ and glossary that has been updated for the current year. And then again, the lobbyist training video. So again, this will be recorded. When I update the video, I will post it here. Like I said, it'll definitely be before the end of next week. So I would check probably midweek next week after I've edited it. I'll post the new one here, and it will be the up-to-date lobbyist video. So that's the lobbyist system. Now, before I move on and show you some additional functionality, does anybody have any questions? And I'll give you a second to type while I take it right. Doesn't look like it. All right, I will take your silence as a go right ahead. So next thing I wanted to talk to you about is the bills and rules watch interaction. Now, remember on the preferences page, we talked about how we automatically create a subscription list by client. So all the bills you declare on, automatically going to be receiving email alerts for, and all of the bills total, regardless of client that you declared for, you're going to get email alerts for those. So without any further action on your part, you get email notifications of every bill that you declare on. Now, there's this bills and rules watch application that essentially shows you these collections. So you can come in here and you can edit these collections if you wish. Again, this is only if you want to. It's already set up. You don't have to do anything in here. But I like to show people because I think it's a really useful tool, especially for you guys. So first thing you'll notice is there's a question mark here. Clicking on the question mark will pull up written instructions for using the Bills and Rules Watch tool. There is also a video tutorial of the Bills and Rules Watch tool. So if I click on my portal home here and I click on this play icon, this will pull up a video tutorial that talks about the Bills and Rules Watch application, introduces you to all the functionality, gives you, unfortunately, it's still not very brief. It's about 18.5 minutes. That's about as much as I can compress it and still give you all the functionality. So I'm not going to give you the big 18-minute show. I'm just going to give you a brief demo, but I did want to point out that this video tutorial is here. You can watch this at any point. And again, clicking on the PDF will pull up written instructions for the tool. But what you will see when you come in here is, again, all of these lists are separated out by client. So each one of these is going to show me all of the bills that I've declared on for this particular client. I would choose the collection here, scroll down, and here's all of the bills that are contained in that collection, all the bills that I have subscribed to or declared on in the system. The new thing this year, and we can all thank Valerie for this, is this meetings on bills here. This will display all meetings for any bills in your collection here. This is for the current day only. So of course, it's only going to show today's meetings. So we've dummied up some meetings. There aren't actually any meetings today, don't panic. All of the subcommittee meetings will show. It'll give you the date and time where those are happening. And then the committee meetings, those are only going to appear here if they put the bill into the committee agenda. So that's not to say that technically they could discuss a bill, without putting it on the agenda. It's not going to appear here. There's not much we can do about that. But if they do put the bill on the agenda, it will appear here and you'll be able to see that. You can click on the bill number to be taken to the bill book application and see all the information on the bill. There's also a PDF icon here that allows you to download this information into PDF, which is a printer-friendly version. So you can see now kind of the short title of the bill, the date and time, the location, and again, This is on the agenda, so that's why we're able to see that as a result. So all committee and subcommittee meetings on bills in your collection right here for the given day. I think that'll be very handy. We're also going to post just a little bit of text saying, these are for the bills that you've declared on. To see all the committee meetings, you're going to want to go check the homepage. So it's only as good as the bills that you've added to your collection. If you don't add a bill to your collection, you're not going to see it here. You can come in and change your preferences at any time. If you click on a collection and click on this gear icon, by default, you get emails every day from the previous day's action, and you get the last 3 actions on every bill. If you want to change the frequency of those, you can change those in the drop downs here. If you want to change the amount of information in those reports, you can change that here. By default, it just puts in a generic description that says list created as a result of making declarations for the lobbyist system. If you want to do a different description of this, you can do so. This is all internal. It's for your benefit. Use it as you see fit. There's no requirements really here. And then there's this actions. This will actually generate a report of today's actions. So if I hit this, it's going to show me all of the actions that have been taken on everything in my collection on that given day. During session, we do run this about every 2 hours. So if you click on it at 3 p.m., it's going to look different than if you click on it at 5 p.m. It will update with the information that's been added since you ran the report last. Now, by default, you're automatically going to get an email the next day that shows you all the information from the previous day. But this is if you want to get a head start and say, okay, I just want to see what's happened today. I don't want to wait till tomorrow. Hit that button and it'll allow you to generate that report. You can do the same thing by clicking here to export to Excel. This will allow you to export these collections to Excel and edit in Excel and do whatever you need to there. Let me just close out this. So as I mentioned, you can, anytime you declare on a bill, it's automatically going to be subscribed to that bill. You can also come in here and type a bill number. If you want to just type Senate File 13 and say add document, that bill will be added to your list. If you hit the little arrow here, it will show you all of the bills that have been introduced so far. Now, right now, I'm not going to click on these because, again, it's the test system. We haven't actually got any bills for the upcoming session yet. So you can use these drop downs as well. So maybe I just want to select each one. I can hold down my control key and I can select each one of these. When you scroll up to the top here, you can see that the bill numbers are just separated with a comma and a space. So you can either type them in or select them from the drop downs, up to you. As you can see, you don't have to just subscribe to Senate and House files. They can be joint resolutions, concurrent resolutions, and study bills. You can subscribe to all of those different types here. I'm going to select this so you can see a little bit better. The next one allows you to subscribe to LSB number. Now, as I mentioned, by default, when you declare on a bill and the bill number changes, you're automatically going to get an email notification that the number has changed and showing you the new number. This allows you to kind of get ahead of it. All the bills that are related are connected with the same 4-digit source number, or LSB number we call it. So where do you find this magic LSB number? Well, I'm just going to go to our bill book application here and I'm going to choose a bill. And if I scroll down over here along the left, you can see that there's this track versions. And what these have in common, all of them have the same 4-digit LSB number, this 5194. Senate Study Bill 3062, House Study Bill 606, etc. So if I subscribe to the LSB number as opposed to the bill number, if the bill number changes, I'm still going to be notified because it still has this 4-digit source code. So that's where you find that. And in this case, I think I've already actually have for this one. So what you want to do, don't worry about the suffixes unless you're a drafter, those don't mean anything to you, but that 4-digit number, you can subscribe to that. So I can put in 5194, I can say add rule, and now anytime a bill comes out that has that source version, I'll get an email notification of that. So just another way to do the same thing. You can subscribe by sponsor. If you want to see all the bills a particular legislator sponsored, choose their name here and hit the add rule button. It does have senators on the top and representatives on the bottom. We get questions about that. Why isn't it all in alphabetical? They wanted it to be by chamber. So if you want a representative, just scroll a little further down to the bottom to see those. There's the by committee. This subscription will show you all of the bills that have been sponsored by a particular committee. And then you can do the same for departments. Executive branch departments request bills through us as well. So anytime they sponsor a piece of legislation, you'll get an email notification of that. Then there's this to committee option. Slight difference between these two. If you subscribe up here to a committee, this will show you all of the bills that have been sponsored by the committee. If you subscribe down here, it's going to give you a list of all of the bills that have been assigned to this particular committee. So that's the difference. And then you have the option here to put in an Iowa code chapter or section. Anytime a piece of legislation is going to touch that code section, you'll get an email notification about that. There's the option here to do a rulemaking. If you have an ARC number or an administrative code section that you want to subscribe to, you can do that here. But the one I really want to talk about is this topic and category option. This tool, we allow anyone in the public to come in and create an account for this. So anybody can use this tool. And what we found is, especially with the public, a lot of times they'll say, I'm interested in the topic of education, but I have no idea what bills relate to education. I have no idea what code sections relate to education. And it's tedious if you don't know how to use the tool on the website to go through and kind of try to search for all that. So what we did a couple of years ago is we created one large indexing taxonomy across all of our products. So now, if I go in and I subscribe to the topic of abandoned property, for example, I check the box or boxes that I want to subscribe to. I say add rule. By default, it's going to give me all legislation relating to that topic, all rulemaking documents relating to that topic, and all publications relating to that topic. Anytime one of those is tagged by our staff with that topic, you get an email notification without additional work on your part. If you don't want those, you'd simply uncheck the boxes for the ones you don't want. So maybe I only want legislation relating to this. I would hit save. And now anytime a piece of legislation comes out that's tagged with the topic of abandoned property, I get an email alert about that. There are letters over here along the left. As you can imagine, this is an extremely long list. So clicking on a letter will take you right to that section of the list. There's also a type ahead feature here. So if I start typing, it's going to do what Google does and kind of try to suggest topics for me. I can choose my topic here. Again, add the rule. It's going to ask me what content I want to subscribe to. I'd make my selection. I'd say save. And now without any more action on my part, anytime something happens with the topic of education, I'm going to know about it. Category functions the same way. It's just a little bit different look. It's kind of more hierarchical here. So what you would do in this case is like the search engine, you can use these little arrows. Whoops. You can use these little arrows to navigate down and narrow your search. So maybe within agriculture, I'm only interested in crops. I can just select that one. And then anytime something comes out, tagged with crops, I'll get an email notification. The message looks the exact same here that it does for topic. The only difference really between the two is the amount of results that you get. Topic is a more narrow search. You're going to get less results choosing a topic than you would choosing a category, which is a very broad search. Now, that being said, we never know how you want this tool to be. If you want it to be a really comprehensive search, you want it to be narrow. That's why we give you both options. So category, you're going to get a lot more results. Topic, not so many. But again, make your choice, up to you how you want to do this. And then if I scroll down here, this gives me all of my collection rules. Now, the rules are what add documents to my collection. So because, for example, I subscribe to the LSB number of 5194, if I check the box next to this rule and scroll down here, it will put in red text all of the bills that were added to my collection as a result of that rule. So in this case, all of the bills that are highlighted in red, or written in red, I should say, are bills that contain that 4-digit LSB number. So kind of handy. And again, you can select or remove as many of these as you want. And then this table down here actually shows all of the documents. So these are the actual singular bills or rulemaking documents or whatever you've added to your collection here. You can search all of these. Again, as you can imagine, as you declare more and more bills, this list gets very long. It becomes tedious to scroll through and kind of try to pick out something. So what we've done is we created a search in here. If I use this top column and check that to select all the documents and hit this, I can search this for a keyword. So maybe my keyword is education. Instead of scrolling through all of these, I just want to hit that. It'll tell me how many documents it found in my collection. And if I scroll down, it'll highlight in yellow all the documents that contain the tag word of education. So a quick way to find what I need. There's also the ability to add a note here. Maybe you want to add a little note to yourself. If you do so, that will always be underneath that particular result. And if you export this to Excel, it'll also be there. So if you want to make notes to yourself, that allows you to do that. And then there's also this priority option. And this again came from a lobbyist who said, yeah, I have all these declarations, but there's like 2 or 3 bills that I really care about, and I want those to always be at the top of my list. So if you hit this little star icon as you go through here, on subsequent visits or on refreshing the page, those will always be at the top of your list. And then if you want to remove that, you just click it again. It's just a toggle. So on, off, click it once, turn it on, click it again, turn it off. All of these are again linked. So clicking on that will take you into BillBook. a little bit of bill history here in the title section. There's an arrow here that also gives some more bill history. So just like in our bill history in Bill Book, instead of having to get out and go to Bill Book to find that, it's all in here too. So if there's videos or journal references, all of these are in here as well. And as you can see, as I scroll down here, there's all this information. And that'll be what's contained. If there is and I don't have any that have this, but if there was an exclamation point here, that indicates that there's been a recent change. And those will usually be at the top of your list too. So I just gave you the bare bones of Bills and Rules Watch, but definitely a useful tool. Again, without any interaction on your part, everything that you declare on, you get notices about. This is only if you want to change or add or remove anything that you've already done here in the system. And again, the big new one this year is this meetings on bills, where you can see all of the committee meetings and subcommittee meetings scheduled for the given day. And this includes every bill in your list, regardless of client. All right. Then lastly, I wanted to show you one more thing about when you are signed into our website. Again, you can see that you're signed in because you'll see your name up here in the top in the black. By signing in, you unlock some additional functionality. So what do I mean by that? If I come in and I just look up a bill, let's say I'm looking at Senate File 510 and I hit go. You have the ability to do this PDF and RTF, just like always. You can put it in PDF format, you can put it in Word format. But because I'm signed in, I get these two additional buttons here. And let's say I want to quickly subscribe to this. I want to get email alerts for Senate File 510. I hit that plus sign. It allows me to add this bill to either an existing collection, to one of my clients, or I can create an entirely new collection and add the bill there. And then I quickly subscribe to this and I get a little notification that document has been added to my collection. Now it's not going to let you add this more than once. So if you choose the same bill, don't worry that you're going to get like 15 notifications. It's going to know that you already subscribed to this bill and you're not going to get it again. But the one that's really handy, if, oh, I'm looking at this and I want to declare on this bill, I hit the declarations link, takes me right to the declarations page. I hit continue, puts in the bill number for me. All I have to do is select my client, select my position, and hit next, and then submit declarations, and I'm done. Easy peasy. And the same thing works in our search engine. So if I were to go to my legislative document research tool, and I type in, let's say, safety, and I hit go, and I'm just looking for legislation, and I hit this little icon in front. Again, you have all these different format options, just like always. But again, you get these two additional buttons here. I can quickly add this bill to my collection, and I can quickly declare on the bill right from the search engine. So if you don't see those buttons, it's because you're not signed in. Again, you can tell you're signed in because you'll see your name up here at the top, and you'll see those additional buttons when you go into our search engine, when you go into Bill Book. And I had a question last session about signing in. You do have to sign in on each device. So if you're looking at this on a phone and a tablet, you need to sign in both places. However, it really doesn't time out very soon. I mean, if you drop connection, that's one thing. But generally, it will sign you out overnight. So it's not like you can sign in once, you come back in a month. No, it's not like that. But it doesn't sign you out like in 10 minutes or anything like that. It's several hours before it'll log you out. And it's several hours of inactivity as well. So if you go in and you do something 20 minutes ago and you go and you do something 4 hours ago, it'll keep you logged in. Yeah, so I find that super handy. I really never log out of our website because I like to see all of this additional functionality. However, up to you how you want to use this. But we try to make it as easy as possible for you guys. Are there any other questions that you have before we say goodbye? Valerie, can you think of anything that I missed that you may want to add?
No, looks great. You did a great job.
Well, thank you much. If a support staff adds something to a collection, does it also add to the lobbying collection? Valerie, you want to take that one? I don't know.
I couldn't hear. What was it?
If a support staff adds something to a collection, does it also add to the lobbyist collection? I don't believe it works that way. I think it's only the lobbyist going forward. Yes, it's only the lobbyist that shares with the support staff person and not the other way around, unfortunately, right now.
Correct.
Good question. That's something we could look into potentially doing if that's something that would help you. For the most part, when a support staff person adds a bill, they'll just like download it into Excel and then share the Excel file with somebody. That's kind of the way around that right now. But we could potentially add that functionality if enough people think that would be useful. Good question.
That would be quite an undertaking for us to
It would
turn
be
backwards.
definitely an undertaking, which is probably why we haven't done it yet. No, absolutely. Thank you for the question. Are there any other questions? Okay, well, as I mentioned, all of these resources are out here already for you. All of the documentation has been updated for the upcoming year. And again, I will post that lobbyist training video probably mid next week at the latest. So revisit, this will be the same link here. It'll just pop up the newer version for you. So thank you all for coming, and hopefully we'll see you in the new session, and have a good holiday.